There is a stirring in the spirit realm tonight, one that has been building for weeks, perhaps even years without your conscious awareness. This isn't random. This isn't noise. This is the breath of heaven speaking softly through the veil, calling out your name in tones too holy for earthly ears to fully comprehend. Jesus, yes, Jesus, is whispering your name with love, urgency, and divine purpose, and he has not done this for anyone else in the way he's doing it for you now. The angels have hushed their wings. The spirits of those who came before you have turned their gaze toward you. Something eternal is unfolding over your life in this very hour, and the spiritual realm is being realigned to prepare you for it. You may have noticed it, a sudden pressure in your chest that wasn't fear, a warmth that descended without explanation, dreams that left messages you couldn't shake, numbers repeating, old wounds aching as if being reopened. None of that was coincidence. Each was a spiritual breadcrumb, signs that Jesus has been standing closer to you than you ever imagined. Try to reach you through the noise, the heartbreak, the distractions of the world. He has been whispering your name not because he needs to remind himself of you, but because he knows you've almost forgotten the truth of who you are. You have been chosen, not just once, but again and again, even after every mistake, every betrayal, every time you question your own worth. And this whisper, it carries more than comfort. It carries a call. He is calling you back to something you lost, a version of yourself that believed deeply in the impossible, a time when you could feel wonder before the weight of the world made you numb to miracles. He's calling you back to the purity of your mission, to the center of your divine identity that was buried beneath years of pretending to be someone else just to be loved, accepted, or protected. But you were never made to blend in. You were born with spiritual authority, and Jesus knows the time is near when you will need to use it. That's why he's whispering, not shouting, because whispers are for those close enough to hear, and you, despite everything, are still close enough to him to be reached. He is not disappointed in your distance. He is astonished at your endurance. Through all the pain, you never fully turned your back on hope. Even in your anger, you still prayed. Even in your silence, you still listened for signs. That's why he has not given up. That's why heaven is bending toward you. Because the timeline of your life is about to break open in a direction you never imagined. There's a message waiting to pour through dimensions to reach you, but it can only land if your heart is open. You must understand that the enemy has tried to mute your spiritual ears for years, through relationships that betrayed your innocence, through family members who told you your intuition was delusion, through trauma that made you believe the silence of God was abandonment. But tonight, even in this moment, Jesus is breaking that stronghold. The lie that you are forgotten is being uprooted. The lie that your life has no purpose is being shattered. You are being spiritually tuned like a divine instrument, realigned with the frequency of heaven. If you have been seeing signs like 1111, feathers, sudden chills, hearing your name when no one is around, that is not madness. That is spiritual preparation. Jesus is setting the stage for a massive unveiling in your life, and what is hidden will soon be revealed. But you must know this. The whisper is only the beginning. The whisper means you are being summoned, not just to receive, but to remember. You are being drawn to a place beyond the chaos of this world, to the stillness where Jesus is speaking clearly. This whisper carries your healing, your direction, in your next chapter, but it also carries responsibility. Because once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. Once you sense it, you must respond. There are certain names written in heaven that do not fade, no matter how far the person has strayed, no matter how long they've been ignored by those around them, and no matter how many times they've doubted themselves or the divine plan written over their life. Your name is one of those. It's been spoken in sacred places, traced into the winds by the wings of angels, and etched into scrolls sealed by the Holy Spirit himself. When Jesus whispers your name, He's not simply recalling you. He is activating you. Activating the contract signed between your soul and God before your body was ever formed. And this time, the whisper is louder than it's ever been because the hour is more urgent than you can see from this side of the veil. You have been walking through the world with a spiritual weight you could never quite describe, haven't you? A sense that something huge is just beneath the surface, just behind the curtain of the visible. A feeling that what you've been told is normal life has always been missing something deeper, more true, more eternal. And you're right. That longing, that ache, that quiet mourning you feel for something you've never held. Those are signs you remember your origin. You're not just a person walking through time. You are a soul who volunteered to descend here, to complete something heaven assigned, something Jesus himself whispered into your spirit before your first breath. The whisper isn't just a sound. It's a vibration that resonates through dimensions, calling every part of your being back into alignment. That's why you've been feeling the pressure. That's why your old life feels like a costume you can't wear anymore. That's why your relationships, your job, your habits, they feel off, like you're pretending to be someone that isn't you anymore. Because you're not. Jesus has begun the sacred work of awakening you, and now your spirit is expanding, stretching beyond the shallow confines of the world systems. The spirit realm has been stirring like a storm about to break because your spiritual destiny was delayed, but now it must be delivered. And so, Jesus is reaching across the veil, whispering your name again and again, not with frustration, but with fierce love, because he knows that your breakthrough, your divine assignment, your moment to rise, is tied to the whisper becoming a roar in your soul. You may have been told you're too sensitive, too intense, too much. But Jesus says you're exactly the right amount of holy disruption this world needs. That fire in your chest, it's not anxiety, it's divine urgency. Your ancestors in the spirit realm have seen this day coming. They've been praying for you to reach this moment. And now that you've heard the whisper, you're no longer who you were. You can't be. The veil has thinned, and heaven has begun to shift for you. You are standing at a threshold, and this is why it's all been so intense lately. The warfare, the confusion, the spiritual fatigue, the people walking away, the isolation. It's not punishment. It's preparation. You had to be separated from the noise in order to hear him. You had to lose certain people, even ones you loved, because they couldn't go with you where he's taking you. You had to face your own demons in the dark because he wanted to show you that even your shadows cannot silence his call. He has been reconditioning your spirit, removing false identities, unteaching lies you were raised to believe, and teaching you to listen, not with your ears, but with your soul. That whisper in the spirit realm, it is layered with instruction, with prophecy, with warning, and with promise. If you sit quietly, you may even begin to hear words forming in your heart, as if being dictated to you. That's real. That's him. That's Jesus tuning your heart like a sacred harp, preparing it to carry the music of heaven to those who have never heard it. And the reason it's happening now is because the timing of your life was no accident. Your birth was not a coincidence. You came through the womb when the world was entering a new spiritual era, and Jesus embedded you with codes of light and truth that only you could carry. But now, because the world is entering a darker phase, that light must be turned on from within you, and the whisper is the ignition. Is your spirit being lit from the inside? And you must respond. Don't wait. Don't dismiss it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Heaven has waited centuries for you to awaken. If you do not answer the whisper now, the door may close for a time, and you will feel more lost than ever before. But if you respond, if you sit still, open your heart, and say, "Speak, Lord, I am listening," you will begin to receive messages, signs, protection, and power that defy logic. Jesus has not whispered to anyone else the way he's whispering to you now, because this next chapter of your life is too sacred, too urgent, and too necessary to delay. The chains that have bound your family for generations, you're the one sent to break them. The emotional inheritance of shame and fear, you're the one chosen to dismantle it. The purpose that's been waiting in the clouds, delayed by pain and confusion, it's now being released to you, right here, right now. But there is something specific Jesus needs you to let go of, and that secret will be revealed now. What you're about to hear could unlock the door to your spiritual destiny and save you from making a decision that would have cost you everything. If you made it this far, do not stop now. What's coming next was written in the scrolls of heaven with your name engraved beside it. There is a hidden truth wrapped in the very whisper Jesus has placed upon your spirit. And this truth may sting at first, but it is the balm that will finally begin to close wounds you've carried for far too long. You've been asking why things keep slipping through your hands, why blessings arrive and then vanish, why peace never seems to settle for long, why you feel caught in an invisible tug-of-war between progress and collapse. And the answer is this: someone, knowingly or unknowingly, has spoken word curses over your life. This isn't fantasy. This isn't paranoia. This is spiritual law in motion. Words carry the power of creation or destruction, and someone who once stood close to you, perhaps even someone you loved deeply, has been sowing seeds of fear, control, jealousy, or resentment into the soil of your life. And while you may have forgiven, while you may have tried to move on, their influence still clings to parts of your spiritual field. It's why you felt the pull backwards every time you try to rise. But here is where the whisper becomes a command. Jesus is not just calling you. He is authorizing you to tear down every altar that was built in your name by those who did not carry your best intentions in their hearts. And it's not just people in your past, it's ancestral. Some of the battles you're fighting didn't begin with you. They were passed down like spiritual debris, clinging to the DNA of your lineage, waiting for someone bold enough to confront them with truth, forgiveness, and holy fire. Jesus is whispering because the revelation must reach the deepest parts of you without alerting the enemy. The whisper is strategic. It's the voice of heaven bypassing your doubts and excuses to speak directly to your destiny. And here's what he needs you to understand. You are not crazy for feeling like something has been stalking your breakthrough. There is a spirit of delay that has been circling your life for years. It's the reason relationships break right when they start to feel stable. It's the reason you've been overlooked, misread, silenced, or dismissed. But Jesus is now stepping into that cycle with a sword. He's whispering because what he's about to do in your life cannot be announced prematurely. Some blessings require secrecy because too many eyes are watching, and not all eyes are kind. You've been protected from things you never even knew were sent to harm you. You've been delayed not because God forgot you, but because he was waiting until the enemy was too distracted to see your miracle coming. And that time is now. But first, there's something he needs you to let go of. Someone, actually. This person might not look like a threat. In fact, they may even seem supportive on the surface. But spiritually, they are connected to patterns that keep pulling you into cycles of confusion, emotional fatigue, and double-mindedness. You've been feeling torn, haven't you? One part of you wants to believe in the future God is promising, but another part keeps returning to the past, wondering if maybe you should have stayed or compromised or settled. That tug-of-war is not natural. It's spiritual warfare. There is a soul tie here, an unhealthy attachment that's siphoning your clarity and weighing down your spirit. And Jesus is saying now, in this very moment, it must be cut. If you keep holding on to what he's already released, you'll miss what's being handed to you in the spirit. You can't carry resurrection and decay in the same hand. You can't step into promise while dragging the energy of the past behind you. Jesus is not whispering to hurt you. He's whispering to rescue you. Because the very next chapter of your life, the miracle the provision, the divine appointment. It's all being delayed by your refusal to release what no longer belongs. You've already seen the signs. You've already had the dreams. You've already felt the nudges, the uncomfortable distance, the inner knowing that this person, this habit, this environment is no longer aligned. But still, your heart has hesitated. And that's okay. Jesus understands your pain. He knows you're not holding on out of rebellion, but out of love, fear, or confusion. That's why he's been so gentle. That's why he's been whispering. But now he needs you to act, because something extraordinary is being positioned in your life. Something so rare and heaven-authored that the enemy is doing everything possible to keep you tied to the past. And if you delay too long, you may forfeit what has been prepared for you since before your birth. There are scrolls in heaven with your name written across them, filled with assignments, encounters, and favor that can only be activated when you step fully into alignment. And that alignment starts with surrender. You may be wondering what happens if you let go. Will you be alone? Will you regret it? Will you survive the grief? And Jesus is answering you now, even as you read this. I'm already holding what you're afraid to release. And I promise, what I give you in return will be more than worth the pain. You were not meant to live a life of partial joy, fractured peace, or hidden suffering. You were meant to walk in power, in light, in divine authority that radiates from your very presence. But your spirit must be light to carry that kind of glory. And so Jesus whispers not to scold you, but to set you free. What comes next is sacred. What comes next will alter the course of your entire life. But there's a final warning in the whisper, and it will be revealed soon. If your spirit has been stirred by these words, if something in your soul is vibrating with truth, do not hesitate. Heaven is waiting. Jesus is still whispering. And the secret in the final part will unlock the final door. And now we have arrived at the moment where heaven leans closest, where the veil thins just enough for your spirit to perceive what your eyes cannot, where Jesus' whisper becomes a roar inside your chest, echoing louder than any doubt, louder than the pain you carry, louder than the voices of this world that have told you to be quiet, to settle, to hide. He has been whispering your name, not to lure you away from comfort, but to call you back to the truth of who you are, who you were before the heartbreak, before the betrayal, before the silence and confusion distorted your reflection. You are not forgotten. You are not average. You are not abandoned. You are royalty walking through a battlefield in disguise. But the enemy knew that if he could distract you with emotional wounds, with familiar voices laced in manipulation, with counterfeit versions of love and approval, he could keep you from ever realizing the power inside you. That power is awakening now. Jesus is not just whispering anymore. He is surrounding you. His spirit is enveloping your atmosphere, flooding the rooms where you sleep, standing at the doorways of your house where curses once entered, driving them out with holy fire and divine force. Something massive is shifting in your spirit, and this is not symbolic. It is active, alive, and now. The spirit realm is on high alert because the orders given concerning your life are being executed in real time. You're about to see things start to move that have been stuck for years. Hidden documents, long-delayed emails, forgotten connections, dreams that you thought had died. Jesus is now breathing life back into what you buried in despair. But he's doing it on one condition, that you do not turn back, that you do not try to rescue what he has already judged unfit for your future. There are people you love that he is not sending with you. That may hurt, that may confuse, but some are only meant to be part of your survival season, not your overflow season. And if you try to take them into the promise, you will sabotage what God is finally releasing. Some relatives, some friends, even some mentors you trusted. Heaven is revealing now that their assignment in your story has expired. And to cling to them is to reject your calling. Harsh, maybe, but truth often is. Jesus is not calling you to be nice. He is calling you to be free. And freedom demands discernment. It demands the courage to walk away from the familiar in order to step into the divine. You are chosen for this moment, and the spirit realm knows it. That's why you've been under attack. That's why the nightmares increased. That's why anxiety tried to choke your sleep and confusion kept clouding your choices. It wasn't because you were weak. It was because hell recognized what was forming in your womb. Purpose. You've been pregnant with this shift for years, and the labor pains have intensified because the birth is near. This message didn't find you by accident. Jesus himself stirred your spirit to open it, to read it, to receive it, because the time is now. Not next year. Not when you feel more ready. Not when you get more confirmation. Now. The miracle is ready, but it's waiting on your agreement. Heaven cannot override your free will. You must say yes, not just with your lips, but with your choices. With your silence where noise once lived. With your boundaries where chaos once reigned. With your faith where fear once whispered lies into your heart. And here is the final truth Jesus wants you to know. The one he's been whispering in a language only your soul could interpret. There's an angel assigned to you who has never left your side. Through the darkest moments, through the tears on bathroom floors, through the betrayals and the quiet nights when you begged heaven for a sign, that angel has stood guard. That angel has shielded you from accidents that were designed to destroy you, from words that were spoken in secret against you, from generational spirits that tried to crawl through the cracks of your exhaustion. And now, that angel has been instructed to deliver you into a season of such divine reversal that even your enemies will go silent in awe. But you must obey. You must walk away from what Jesus is no longer in. You must delete that number. You must decline that invitation. You must trust that if it's being removed, it's because something greater is being sent. Your name is written in fire across the spirit realm, not the fire of destruction, but the fire of glory. You are not invisible. You are not behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being rebuilt with sacred hands, piece by piece, until you reflect the full image of the King who never stopped whispering your name, even when you stopped listening. And if you're still reading this, if your spirit is still stirred, if tears are rising and truth is hitting deep, then hear this clearly. Jesus didn't just whisper your name. He wrote it into the next chapter, and that chapter begins now. Step into it. The angels are already clearing the path. Heaven has spoken. Your agreement is the final key. Open the door. The miracle is waiting.